Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. This is Tal Baker Phillips speaking, and today we'll be presenting myself and Swaminath Shiva, who both make up part of the international team. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through just some things that we think can help your Google My Business strategy, your online presence, digital side in general, and perhaps we can help you with your strategy and your plans moving forward for 2021. What we're going to do firstly is we'd like to thank you very much for joining us. It really is nice to see people joining and people taking the time out of their day, even if it is 25, 30 minutes just to go through this with us. It really is nice to see it. It's nice to go through a presentation, knowing that there's people that have joined us. What we're going to be doing as well is we're going to be putting a number of polls on the right-hand side. So if you see on your screen, you'll see chat, questions, polls. If you could ask any questions, please, we'd really love that. And what we'll do is we'll sort of leave a little bit of time throughout the presentation, and then at the end we'll come back to answer any of the ones that you have. And we'll also be leaving some polls throughout as well. So do respond to them. We'd love to get your feedback, and we'd love for you to sort of interact as well. So do ask any questions, like I say, and we'll answer them at the end personally in turn. Yes, so let me move on then, and you'll be hearing from Swami in the next couple of slides. So like I mentioned, we'll be going through things like the importance of Google My Business as kind of the head component, the key component of your online presence, local SEO, that sort of thing as well as some of our recommendations for the best practices, our recommendations on what you can do and what you should do, and then also a Q&A at the end where, like I say, you can answer any questions, but do leave any questions that you like in the questions pod, and we will see it, we will take notes, and we will answer it at the end. So let's start. So let's go with what's changed very recently. So the reason why we're sort of talking about this now. So nowadays, particularly following COVID with the current situation, businesses, particularly in the retail and fashion industry, which is what we're focusing on today, they look to improve their online presence and activity, but they often overlook the fact that consumers online don't go on company websites to get store information, such as opening hours, for example. In fact, it's websites such as Google My Business, Apple Plan, Waze, Instagram, Facebook, Foursquare even, that generate 7 times more contacts than the company websites alone. So it's not enough anymore just having your website updated. You've got to be updated and consistent everywhere across the web, across all platforms. And that sort of leads into this side here where the discovery searches and the direct searches. Now, the way that you will be found, the way that your company will be found, will be 20% through a direct search. So perhaps Levi's UK, Levi's store, let's say Aldi Dubai, Aldi London, something like that, where the name of the company is directly referenced in the search. That makes up only 20%. 80% of searches come from what's called discovery. Now, this may be a store near me, shop near me, supermarket near me, bakery near me, something like that, where the biggest influencer is other things, other factors. Now, what we're going to talk about today is how to increase your visibility in these discovery searches, in these 80% of searches, because they're obviously the most important thing. And what Swami is going to do now is just introduce some of those ideas and what we can start to do to improve that online.
Thank you, Tal. So I'd like to quickly talk about how exactly does local SEO work. As you can see in front of you here, traditionally, if you heard something on the radio, saw the same information on the newspaper, and also saw it on television, it kind of provides credibility to the information. The algorithm of local SEO sort of works in a similar fashion, wherein if an information is found on your search engines such as Google My Business, and on your social media such as Facebook, and also on navigation apps like Waze, if the information is found to be consistent and reliable, it provides credibility, and in turn, your local SEO ranking goes up. And it's also interesting to note that this slide kind of sums up the consumer behavior patterns too. While originally people were more looking at traditional media like radio, newspaper, and television, now slowly they're transitioning and moving closer towards search engines, social media, and GPS applications to get their information. Moving on, how exactly does the algorithm function on GMB. So a lot of people think that the physical distance to the store from the client is actually the most important in terms of ranking. But actually, as you can see in this slide here, these rankings are based on the latest industry report provided by Moz agency, the state of local SEO 2020, right? So the first and most important element is the relevance. So relevance talks about your GMB elements. So we talk about your categories, the correct attributes, and also how optimized your GMB listing is with relevance to your business. Number two is the reputation of your business. So this purely comes down to the number of reviews that you have and also the rating on your individual listings. And finally, the proximity of the client to your business. So as you can see here, setting up and managing a GMB listings with the relevant categories and attributes, and also ensuring that your listings have a lot of reviews that are positive and also are being responded to is even more important than the actual physical distance of the client to your stores.
Excellent. Now, let me mention again, if everyone clicks on polls or questions, if you do click on polls, what you'll see is we've put some polls in there for you to answer. So do go over there and give us a little click. Let us know how it is you're managing those things. Let us know, so we can get a general idea of how people are operating. And also, like I do mention, please do add some questions. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your feedback. And we'd love to have that sort of interactive element at the site at the end. So yeah, please do head on over there to do that and just click on questions or polls. That'd be great. Let me carry on with that. So what we have here is as Swami mentioned, there's the important things that you can mention, that you can add, and only on GMB. Now, GMB makes up 25% of your entire SEO, of the entire influence of what is impacted. GMB is the single biggest thing that you can do. Now, that means that you can add things like photos. We'll talk about photos in more detail in a second, but photos, adding as many photos as you can in the highest quality as possible is really very good for consumers. They like to see that, and that makes them more likely to go to your profile and visit your store as well. Consistent NAP information, this is what I'm talking about. Now, with all of these things, it comes into Google's algorithms. Now, the more consistent your NAP data, that's obviously number, address, the phone number, the address, photos, things like categories, these other things that we're talking about. What Google does is Google scans the web for this already stored data. The easier you make it for Google's algorithms, for Google's bots to find this, and when they have a consistent data, so not 2 o'clock opening time on one website, 1 o'clock on the other, 12:30 on the other, 2:30 on the other. If it's correct, up to date, and being updated, Google is far more likely to recommend your store, your listing on Google above competitors, for example. So this is what we're looking at. We're looking to control every single branch, every single one consistently and across all platforms. That's also things like attributes, which will go on as well. Secondary URLs, attributes as well make up a big thing with COVID, because we have things like collects, click and collect, that sort of thing, curbside pickup. Also geolocation, pinpointing that geolocation so that you can use apps like Waze. Using apps like Waze so that people know exactly where you are, makes it easy for people to find you. Categories as well, which we'll come on to as well. Categories are so important nowadays. You can get one main category and 9 subcategories. Working on the description makes it look clean, adds comparts information to your consumers, potential clients. And public holidays is an important one, because you don't want to leave out public holidays and then perhaps a client comes to your store and it's shut. That's the worst feeling ever. So what you want is you want to update those public holidays so that automatically when someone sees your listing on a bank holiday or another one, then that's it. The information is up to date and your business has a good reputation for being reliable.
So moving on here, as Tal mentioned, one of the most important things in the retail business that companies can do is to set up the right categories for their particular business. So on the slide here, we can see 2 examples of Carrefour and BOC Bon. So at the base of things, Carrefour, as everyone here might know, is a supermarket chain, and BOC Bon is focusing more on organic products, right? And as you can see on the screen here, Carrefour has categories such as supermarket, hypermarket, bakery, dairy, etc. and Bio C'est Bon more in terms of organic food store, organic shop, natural goods store. What I'd like to mention here is that on a yearly basis, the Google product team removes categories, adds new ones, and are constantly modifying things. So as a business, it is fundamentally really important for you to be aware of these changes, and so you can position your stores in the best possible way for your clients. Because ultimately, for example, for Carrefour, if there is a local search being made around one of them where someone's just looking to buy some baked goods, it's more likely that the nearest bakeries will show up unless Carrefour has it optimized enough that the client also knows that Carrefour sells and has a division that also sells baked goods, for example. So your categories are really important, not only to boost your local SEO, but also to be able to found on discovery searches. And again, when we look at the fashion industry here, we have examples of La Halle, which is more of a fashion retailer, and Courir, which is more of a retailer specialized on sports goods. Again, when we look at quickly at the categories, we can see that La Halle sells clothing, boots, shoes, and has men's clothing, fashion, etc. And Courir has to mention that it's a ski store, it's a sports store, shoe store. Depending on the categories, again, they can really best position themselves to their demographic, to their consumers. So again, categories are the most important and the most efficient way you can maximize your chances of being found on discovery searches. And finally, while we speak of categories, another really key element of local SEO is also your attributes. So attributes are essentially things that can define a certain element of your business. For example, you can tell your consumers if you're providing wheelchair accessible entrance, wheelchair accessible car park, and also in terms of payments, do you accept credit cards? Do you do only cash only payments? And for example, if you have free Wi-Fi, paid Wi-Fi, or no Wi-Fi. Again, categories are a great way to be found on discovery searches, because if there was a potential client saying wheelchair accessible business near me, wheelchair accessible supermarket near me, this is a way that you can differentiate yourself from your competitors and also really provide a better service to your clients. And yeah, so you can really position yourself better on discovery searches.
So, yes, so moving on to some of the Google posts, another aspect that you can do, and that's we found that's very a lot of the clients that we speak to are very fond of this, and they are moving into this much more, is Google Posts. So in the retail industry, what you can do, and the supermarket industry, as you see here on the left, you can use Google Posts to your advantage in a number of ways. So here we've got a taste, giving a taster of your product, special offers, particularly during Christmas and other festivals and other events of the year, giveaways as well, and product launches. Now, this is a big part because it's essentially your own network and your own listings, and you can use this as kind of your area to advertise. You can advertise a new product, you can advertise whatever it is that you like, and it's part of your listing. So all of your network can perhaps launch a new product. Now, the reason I say this is because we were working with a client in Kuwait, and this client in Kuwait had a money exchange service that they were very proud of, and they wanted to make their whole network aware of. Now, over 100, 150 money exchange branches, they posted about this new product. And that's a great way for you to utilize your network and your online footprint and your online presence to promote a product all through your GMB. And it's something that very, very notably, Google likes when you use their service. It likes when you update the address. It likes when you update photos, etc., that we've mentioned before, categories. Google Posts is just another thing where you are using Google's features, using its things that are available to you. And the more you use, the more they are likely to recommend you, the more they are likely to push you up the SEO search, etc., and so on. So it's just another thing that you can use that Google sees, Google takes note of, and Google likes. As well as that, very much more topically, the COVID-19 posts are very important for supermarkets. I mean, they've been open the whole way through, of course, and fashion industry, when we're looking to reopen, when we're looking to open up again in the future, what you can do is you can talk about the operations, talk about things, and put out some notices to your customers. Click and collect as well, so important, and click and collect is is something that, like I mentioned, is important for those throughout the COVID crisis, and we're not sure how it's going to go in the future. So that may also be important. And reopening as well. You might want to put a message out to your customers, letting them know certainly when you're going to be reopening and that you are reopening at all. It's something that you should be doing on Google, and finding a way to do this is very, very important. And that is what you can do through COVID posts.
Now, speaking of attributes, another important attribute that businesses have access to is your secondary URLs. Now, these secondary URLs can be used by your clients to place an order, to make an appointment, and also to have an access to the list of products and services that you have. So these products and services might be anything ranging from the list of product showcase that you want to portray to your client, but also any specific services that they have access to within your physical point of sale. For example, if you have a different department within your supermarket like Carrefour does, Carrefour Drive tends to have different opening hours and different information for the customer. So this is something that you can list through your listing using the secondary URLs. And moving on, a really important element is your Google products. So essentially what it is a product showcase for the flagship products that you'd like to directly show your customers from your listings. So this is really key because your customers are more likely to be attracted to the listings that have really high quality images. And it's a great way for you to showcase the products that you'd like to bring their attention to. For example, in this on the slide, we see that it's an electronic store that sells LG mobile phones. And right there, already we know that there is a sale that's happening, and probably that's a new mobile phone. And they can also see the price of the phone from all that from the listing without actually going to make the purchase. And it's actually interesting too, is that Google allows you to provide links to your website and also links to the store manager's phone number in case a potential customer is already interested and would like to have some more information about the product. So speaking of photos, quickly, I'd also like to mention really the impact of photos on SEO. Something I've often noticed is that a lot of companies manage their listings where they update them on a regular basis and they provide their customers with the correct information in terms of the phone numbers, the opening hours, and their website, etc. But something that they do not have control over is the quality of photos on their listings. This is something really important. As you can see in the study here, there is a direct and significant correlation between the number of photos on a listing and the number of direct searches and indirect searches being made to the listing. Because the more photos that you have, when a customer scrolls through the different listings that they find on Google search, by default, their eyes are more likely to be looking at listings that have quality photos that showcase maybe the location or the range of products that they have. And this has been proved by a recent study called the tracking study as well. And quickly, I'd like to point out some figures that we've measured after doing an analysis of over 3,000 stores of our fashion clients at Part2. And these are clients that we provide the best practices with in terms of how to optimize their listings to have the maximum visibility, but also the maximum interaction with respect to their potential customers. So some of the key figures here would be over 130% increase on indirect searches and over 144% increase on direct searches, and also a significant increase on itinerary requests, phone calls, and clicks on the website. Again, really the idea being, if you manage your listings based on these factors that we mentioned to you today, you maximize your chances of being found on potential searches. And once you're found on these searches, how do we ensure that the customer's journey from discovery to conversion is as smooth as possible? So what we're really looking at is to facilitate this transition and ensure that the customer slowly nurtures and develops brand loyalty. And while we look at food retail here, this is again done from research of over 6,000 supermarkets, such as Carrefour, Aldi, Corlieu, and Dimar. And again, straight away, it's the indirect searches and direct searches that stand out. They increased over 200% and 193% respectively, But also we can see here in terms of itinerary requests and phone calls and clicks on the website, there's a significant increase too. Again, especially in the food retail too, like in fashion, often there tends to be a lot of supermarkets just next to the client. So how do we position ourselves better? How do we differentiate our product offerings? How can you differentiate anything else specific to that particular supermarket can be really key in terms of finding a potential client.
Right, so we're going to move away slightly from the data side, and we're going to go to the review side of the listings and of your general profile. Now, what we again surprises us is the Swami touched on it earlier on, but it's the amounts of companies that control things. They control their data, they control their phone number, but they leave reviews completely untouched, completely unmanaged. Now, the reason why this is so important, and this is very recently. So what happened with Google, before I touch on the points on the screen, what they do is they like to change it very often every few months or few weeks, depending on what time of year and what products that they're coming out with, Google. And what they did very recently, within the past month and a half, was they changed the criteria. Now, what Swami mentioned with proximity and relevance, that's the new updated version. So previously, the single most important thing you could do was have your Google My Business 100% up to date and being updated. That's the biggest thing. The second thing used to be proximity. So if someone was stood outside an Aldi store in the UK, what they would do is, if they were stood outside an Aldi store and they were very close to that store instead of another store, that store would appear. That isn't the case anymore. That isn't the second most important criteria. Now, because of Google's change, Google wants you to focus more on reviews. So the second most important thing you can do now, more important than proximity, is have up-to-date reviews, is have a high quality rating, and have a lot of reviews, a number that is very, very high. So that means now that if your rating is much, much lower than another competitor, but a person searches right outside your store, if it's right outside, sure, you might appear, but now Google is far, far more likely to recommend that competitor that's a mile away, a kilometer away, half a kilometer away. So this is why it's really important to focus on reviews. Now, what you should be doing is replying to every single review. And the reason you should do that is because you have control over it, providing you do, of course, have control of all your listings. Now, the reason you should do that is these reasons here. Strengthen your client relationship. If you have a 1-star review and you leave it unanswered, there's going to be however many people, I'm sure that a lot of you track your traffic, perhaps you don't, but you can see how many people come into in contact with each one of your listings. There's going to be 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 people that see these negative reviews. It's not just a one-off. Now, what you can do also is respond to the positive one. So you can say, well, that's brilliant. That's really great. We appreciate your feedback. We're looking forward to seeing you again. Now, the reason for this is that 86% of consumers read reviews before they go and visit a store. Perhaps you've done the same for a restaurant, or when you buy something online, you read the reviews first. 89% of consumers read the response of the owner to those comments. Now, that's why it's really important. So if you have a 1-star review, you can't ever avoid those. You can't not get those. But what you can do is reply with a very respectful message, apologize, perhaps offer something, offer an email for them to get in contact, perhaps call them from the management. Now, that is far better and improves your customer-client relationship. It also reaches a large audience, like I mentioned. So any message that you put is now part of your online listing. And as we know, these are seen by often tens of thousands of people. So it's really something to take advantage of. And it goes into communicating key messages. So you can even mention a new product. If someone says, wow, I really love this product, I really love this, you can say, well, we have a new version of this. We have a new product coming out here. It's seen, it's your own way of marketing that you don't need to pay for. It's something that it's there on your website. It's there on your listings, and you can control those. We talk about Google a lot here, but there is also Facebook, of course, as well, which are the two main ones. And finally, it's improving your local SEO. So the more you do this, the more you use reviews, the more reviews you have, the more reviews you respond to, the more activity, the higher the rating. This all improves your local SEO, even if it's negative reviews here and there. Replying to those and having activity on that improves your local SEO all the same. So it's really something to look for, and it's really something to invest time in as well. And leaving them unanswered at the moment is really not what your biggest competitors would be doing, for example, if you look at their reviews. Now, yes, here. So this is just some examples very quickly. I'm not going to rattle on this slide. So this is some of our clients that we currently work with in the food retail industry. Obviously, you may notice some names, and these are across various countries in Europe, obviously the Middle East too, perhaps in Brazil, perhaps in India, and these are some that we're working with at the moment. And the same with fashion. So these are primarily networks with large branches that are looking to control and looking to implement all of the things we've mentioned in their listings, in their online digital presence as well. Now, here are some of our other clients. This is our general, just to sort of finish, these are our other clients in a variety of different countries, like I mentioned, across the world, and a variety of different industries. Now, what I wanted to talk about was our sort of solutions, really. So what we've talked about throughout the presentation, this is what we're looking to help you with. This is what we help these clients with. So very briefly, what Part2 specializes in is drive to store. So we help companies that have a network of local branches, a large network of local branches, like supermarkets, like fashion retailers, like even pharmacies, car dealerships, to attract more customers to their establishments and make more purchases online. So this leaves food retail and fashion companies with these networks with a real problem, which is, like we mentioned, how to update data such as opening hours, photos, contact numbers, GMB categories, GMB attributes, addresses, etc., for every single branch on all of these external networks. Remember, we mentioned that it's 7 times more contacts on these external networks. There is also the problem of having poor ratings, leaving online reviews unanswered, simply not having enough reviews, for example, like we mentioned there at the end. Our 3 solutions help companies looking to solve this. So that really is something that if you're looking to improve in 2021, if you're looking to improve this, if this is something you're interested in, following this webinar, if you'd like to sit down and discuss your online presence with us, if you're interested in finding out more about Part2 solutions, or if there's a particular aspect of this presentation you'd like to learn more about, it would be a real pleasure to sit down with you. Or of course, you can ask now in the question sector and in the question section, sorry, and we can go through it then. But if not, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you. I think we'll move to any questions now, if any has some. Or Swami, is there anything you'd like to add at the end?
Well, absolutely. So I'd like to please request everybody to drop in any questions that you may have now, so we can get back to you. And firstly, yeah, thank you very much for being here today and for being through the presentation. What I'd like to add on, something that Tal mentioned, is now more than ever, as we move closer to a time where there's a lot of changes happening, and your clients are expecting you to really reach out to them and provide them with as much information as possible. This is the moment. It's important to have somebody that can guide you and kind of give you the backend information of what's happening in the product, in terms of Google's vision of the product, and in terms of all the changes. In particular, for example, as I mentioned, Google added around 200 attributes this year alone, just so you can mention to your customers regarding COVID, and they removed about 50 attributes that they deemed obsolete. So a change of this manner, you need a partner that's aware of this and also can communicate and constantly stay in touch with you to help you facilitate the change on your listings. But apart from that, yeah, that's pretty much it from my end. And please do drop in a note if you'd like to discuss more, and if you'd like to speak with us in the future.